Hey, welcome to another episode of Rich James Leicester Square Theatre Podcast. My guest this week is Robert Webb. Can't beat that, can you? Hey, look, thanks so much for donating to the Kickstarter. If you did, we hit our target and with a little bit extra to spare, which means we will be filming Series 12 of the podcast, which starts filming on the 16th of October. It's every Monday until the 27th of November. If you go to leicestersquaretheatre.com, you can buy tickets. We've got some fantastic guests coming up, including Ellie Taylor, Armando Iannucci, Jan Ravens, Alice Lowe, I think, is pretty much confirmed, Reg D. Hunter, Richard Osman, hopefully Paul Chowdhury, hopefully Charlie Brooker, and a few more to come. So do look out for that. leicestersquaretheatre.com to buy tickets, or go to richtrain.com/gigs, and you can see the links there. And don't forget, we have an app available in the Apple Store. It's called Hypothetical Emergency Questions. It's free. It'd be great if you just downloaded it, even if you don't want to do anything with it, just so that we look like we're popular. But you can buy add-on apps, add-on packs for that, which include all of the questions in the first emergency questions book is one pack. We've got 100 new questions for dating. And we've got 100 new questions for kids. And there's a way you can turn on and off all of the rude questions so that you can safely allow your child to play with the app without them having to answer the human centipede question, which really I don't think would be a good discussion to have. Anyway, they're very cheap and lots of fun. I hope you all have fun with that app. And I hope you'll come and see us recording the show live. Anyway, let's see one that we've recorded already. Really fantastic podcast, this one, coming up with Robert Webb. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leicester Square Theatre. Please welcome a man who has recently irked Michael Portillo. It's Richard Herring! Yo, yo, yo! Hello! Hello, yes, welcome to Rich Herring's Leicester Square Theatre Podcast. I was following the Hofmeister Bear the other day. He's a pretty cool guy. Got a hat and everything, hasn't he? He calls it relish, so I don't know if that's going to catch on. It's been a very busy week for me this week. It's so busy I might have to talk about some of it in next week's show. That is how far ahead we have to look. When I turned 50 on Wednesday, was it? I don't know. Then on Friday I moved house. So it's like, you know, I was living in London. I got to 50. Someone said, "Are you still here? You've got to go, mate. You're 50. You've got to go. Don't you know the rules? You have to live in the country." So I had to move 2 days later. In between those 2 days, I foolishly agreed to go on the political chat show this week with Andrew Neil, the old Brillo pad, isn't he? Old with the Brillo pad on his head, and Michael Portillo and Ed Balls. And just as I was going there, I was told that Nigel Farage was going to be a guest. So I was like, "Oh fucking hell!" I thought he was actually going to be in the. So I then had to sort of sit around in this. Late at night, it was the day after my birthday. I was hungover. It was the day before we were officially moving, so I was just wishing I was in bed. I was so tired, and it's recorded live. It's late at night. I was meant to be going on talking about sort of emergency questions, basically. My emergency questions. They were saying there's lots of awkwardness happening with politicians. So your comedy's about awkwardness a lot of the time, and you have these emergency questions to get out of awkwardness. So I thought I was going to talk about the emergency questions, but and then Andrew Neil sort of introduced me saying, "This is a comedian who believes we're living in the most politically awkward age of all time." Why is that, Richard? Why is that true? So I thought it was a light-hearted item at the end of the show, so I thought, well, I'll fucking try and play along with that. I said, well, you know, it's been, there's a lot of awkward interviews with politicians at the moment, Theresa May and Trump, and, you know, I got angry about Nigel Farage and saying, you know, I didn't name him, but I was saying we got that chump on you've just had on, and Andrew Neil's, and I just wasn't, you know, I was so tired, I wasn't in the zone, really. If I'd been in the zone, I think I could have had a lot of fun with this. Andrew Neil said, well, to be fair, Nigel isn't here to defend himself, so we better not stop talking about him. And I should have said, well, unluckily for me, I've chosen the 5 minutes he doesn't happen to be on the BBC.
Which would have been literally true, because he'd literally just been on it. And Nigel Farage, who basically, in his little piece, had threatened violence. He'd threatened revolution if he didn't get Brexit to be exactly what he wanted. Didn't give him a hard time. I was fine. Now coming in, Nigel. Yeah, fine. Foment some revolution. That's fine. I was slightly. It's such an embarrassing programme this week, and they do a sketch at the beginning, and it's the worst thing ever, right? You've seen it, right? It's always the worst, most embarrassing thing ever. And I arrived, and Ed Balls was dressed as an astronaut, and Michael Portillo was dressed as an astronaut. And then they said, sprung it on me that I was meant to be in the sketch. They said, will you dress up? I said, no, I will not dress up. So I was being snooty. I did the line for them, but I was kind of annoyed. So I kind of took the piss out of them for dressing up as all astronauts and being on Strictly Come Dancing. And Michael Portillo was just very angry about it. He kind of came at me saying my argument wasn't working, that he hated people who just picked on politicians for no reason. And he said, you should become, if you have this problem, you should become an MP. And again, I should have said, well, that means you're not qualified to talk about politics. The last I remember was you not being an MP. I remember quite an awkward moment where you actually failed to become an MP. So maybe 1997 was the last time you should have spoken. But, all these things I should have said, but I think I'd got away with it, but it was the most horrible thing that's happened. It's the most horrible thing that's happened to me since I turned 50. I had lots of UKIP, all the kippers telling me what a bust I was. I felt mortified, and then I moved house the next day. So anyway, it was you can watch it online if you want to see me being rubbish. That's what I should have said instead. But anyway, look, we're going to crack straight on. There's a female Doctor Who as well. I haven't even had time to talk about that. Might talk about that with my next guest. Who I think would make an excellent female Doctor Who. He's probably best known as Maurice Wigglethorpe Throom. That's why you're here, from the comparethemarket.com adverts, the ones without the meerkats in, or if they were in it, I don't know. Don't think they were. I think that was. I don't think they made a doll of him though yet. It's Robert Webb, ladies and gentlemen, from comparethemarket.com. Hello. Sorry, I took the piss out of you. Please, don't get angry with me, like Nigel Farage.
This will be marginally less awkward than this week.
Let's.
I've been on that, and he's weird. He's a weird man.
Andrew Neil.
He's weird as well. Yeah. But Portillo, he sat there in that horrible green room in one of his disgusting lime shirts, and just with his hands on his knees, just staring into space, thinking his Portillo thoughts. And it was really odd. I just stared.
Well, I said to you backstage, the weird thing was that I kind of shook Ed Balls' hand and I shook Portillo's hand, and then when Farage was in the room, I kind of just looked at the floor and I wouldn't engage them and I didn't shake his hand. But
because you love him, fancy him so much. Oh, hi, Nigel. I can't look you in.
But it says something, that Michael Portillo, it's acceptable to shake his hand. Yeah. Someone must be pretty bad. They're going, oh no, I'm not touching that.
He's the new normal.
Yeah, he is. So, so it was a humiliation, but never mind.
Sorry.
We won't.
Things can only get better.
I hope so. The next gig I did, I still felt the creeping nastiness.
Just that kind of what I should have said.
And so I thought maybe that's it. Maybe it's over. So we'll see how this interview goes. Maybe
there was a time when filming Peep Show when the producer Phil Clark, who does Thai kickboxing.
Yes,
he does. And there was a time when it was a night shoot and somebody wandered by and went, "You're pedos! You're all pedos!" And he'd had a lovely night in the pub, but he'd come out a little bit angry. And you're all pedos! And he was asked to sort of move along. And Phil, who is the nicest guy you'll ever meet, just like half an hour later, you could see him still reliving it. And just what I could have done to that bloke. And how I would have taken my hands out of my pockets and just delayed aggression.
I should have
the
just
aggression that
imagine
we
if I
missed
just
the chance out.
Well, I also just wish I'd gone, oh, you stupid cunt. I just wish I'd. You're all just a load of cunts.
It's the only language they understand.
There we go. It's in the past.
Shake it out.
I'm shaking it off. I've been reading your fantastic book.
Thanks very much.
Which is called How Not to Be a Boy. The second best book that's called How Not to. How Not
yes.
to. Did you see the success of my book and think, how can I copy that?
I did not.
No, okay.
I would like to make a joke there, but the truth is I didn't.
I don't think anyone did, so I think it's a crazy coincidence. But there is, well, it's about your childhood and adolescence.
Yes.
Mainly, and the difficulties you went through.
Yes.
And how you became the comedy
fucking
legend
super
you are.
duper.
Yeah.
No, it's not a sort of prop normal celeb autobiography because I'm not famous enough to write anything that boring. It's a sort of child and teenage memoir, but themed around masculinity.
Yes.
And how boys are supposed to be boys and girls are supposed to be girls, and how we sort of learn those rules and drag them through into a half-formed manhood.
Yes.
And there's lots of funny bits and lots of sad bits, and I've run out of stuff to say about it.
Well, I've met lots of people who say when they get an autobiography of anyone's autobiography, they skip through the bit about the childhood.
Yeah,
they find that the most boring.
I do. I mean, who gives a bollocks about? I mean, you read them and they start with their fucking grandparents.
Yeah.
You go, I don't give a shit. My maternal grandparent was born in 1823, and oh fuck off.
Yeah.
But it's all that.
Yeah.
Except the grandparents sort of come in and out of it.
Yeah,
it's mainly about me.
But I disagree, because I actually think, especially with comedians, I think so much of it is formed within childhood and your childhood relationships. I think this book really shows it, right? That we talking because it's about the things that happened to you as a kid that then inform you and make you want to go on to become a comedian.
Which is true for everyone.
Yeah.
But you know, there are we were talking earlier about the startling number of stand-ups who are adopted.
Yes.
And you know, there are these unmet needs that are being met in a peculiar way.
Yes.
And I think that's I quote Ray Romano. You know, everyone loves Raymond. Not my favourite sitcom ever, but it's all right, isn't it? But I found a quote from him. I read in an interview, and he said, you know, if my father had given me one full hug, I'd be an accountant right now. And not dissing accountants. It might be nice to be an accountant, but anyway, he chose to try to be funny.
Yeah, but I always look at it, and I was saying this to Julie and Claire the other week, and think my childhood was quite nice, and my parents were pretty. I mean, my dad was my headmaster, which was my cross to bear.
That was your big disadvantage.
That was the weird thing. But I think I sort of liked. You know, your story is very similar to mine in lots of ways, except you've had a bit more tragedy in your life than I have.
The constant death.
Yeah, everyone stayed alive in my family.
Everyone's fucking dead.
Yeah.
But David, my David, fucking hell. But David James Stewart Mitchell, we've been acquainted. He had a completely normal childhood, and he always feels a bit sort of guilty and a bit shifty about the fact that, oh, Jesus, he's got something to talk about with Wogan. But I had this normal.
You haven't even have to talk to dead interviewers. That's how bad it's got.
I've got a cutout in the garden.
There was some similar things. The things that that interested me that were the same was, and I've talked about this before, is that I couldn't draw a number 8.
No
and
way.
My dad, I couldn't do it. I could do it the same way as you by putting two snowman, but I couldn't do that. And I remember, and my dad was like your dad was. My dad was a maths teacher.
You're left-handed.
No, I'm right-handed. I'm just holding it now.
Oh, okay.
I can use both for holding.
Wow. That's why you get the big bucks. That's why you're the pro.
Yeah. My dad's a maths teacher.
Hang on. So can I. Fucking hell. Who knew?
My dad's maths teacher, so he was sort of furious with me and I remember I was literally sat in the cupboard under the stairs practicing my 8s.
Like Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Does he make you sleep there until you could do it properly?
But I remember him, you know, I couldn't do long multiplication. He was just
who
furious.
could? It's a stupid idea.
But that's interesting that do you think it was just something in the 70s? There was something in the water that meant
not being able to do an 8.
It's
impossible. I have less of an excuse. I couldn't do a 2 either.
No.
So the whole monologue
What was your problem with 2s? They were easy, man.
2, I don't know. It was just what happens, and then it goes. There's a diagonal, and then it's suddenly, whoa! And then no, I found it's a very aggressive number. Yeah. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. But your dad didn't like that, did he?
No, there was one of the less pleasant memories from my early childhood. So I was about 5, and I remember my father, who'd probably had a couple of pints at that point. He wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary for that time and place, late 70s. But he came home and he was in a terrible mood, and he just yelled at me to do a 2, do an 8, which most teachers these days, or indeed parents these days, would probably say is not best practice. Just fucking do it! And, yeah, so I turned that into a sort of humorous sketch to amuse the ladies and gentlemen in the book.
But man, if it had worked, how different education could be now.
They'd be knocking back the strepsils. Those teachers. It's very hard on the voice. I'm regretting it already.
There was a few things, but I wanted to. I enjoyed your. Tell us about the guy buys.
The guy buys.
Yeah.
The guy buys were my gang of 12. Yes, 12.
Yeah.
Imaginary friends. And we basically went around on our bikes fighting crime. Sometimes we were the wisecracking guys from Chips. Sometimes Chips was.
There's been a recent film of it, although no one saw it, I don't think so. They
made a film of Chips.
They made a film of Chips.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, there were traffic cops in California, or I was Dick Turpin, or I was Zorro, and we'd go around, and they were basically my bodyguards, and I'd sort of count them in. I'd sort of open doors and watch them go by. And, you know, my grandparents and my mother just watching this behaviour. Okay, all right, yeah. And and we'd go around with our, I'd have my plastic swords and my guns, and we'd go around. It was the most normal thing about me. I was heavily into violence.
Yeah.
But imaginary violence.
What did they look like, the guy buys?
They were pretty much invisible.
Could you not see them though when you were looking at them going in?
I sort of named them partly after my brothers, and partly after the apostles, and partly so they all had these. I don't know what was going on.
I had a little messianic sort of, I had this. Well,
it's perfectly normal.
I think a lot of, you think. I thought I might be one of the new. I didn't think I was the new Jesus. I thought I might be one of the new disciples. I took it down a level.
One of the new disciples.
The new Jesus would find me and take me on, and I'd be one of his disciples.
Oh right, you were waiting to be found.
Yeah,
that's
by Jesus.
Interesting.
Yeah. But but sometimes I wondered if I might be the new Jesus.
Welcome to We're Fucked Up. And
I'm not sure we still could be the new Jesus. Only time will tell.
It's too soon to say.
It is.
I might be a sleeper Jesus. I don't know that I'm Jesus. And then one day I'll just get woke.
That's the thing that made me think I might be Jesus, was Jesus didn't know he was Jesus.
He didn't.
Even though all the stars and stuff.
He didn't even say he was Jesus.
No.
St. Paul said that 80 years later that he was Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a nearly fact.
But he didn't know. He didn't know when he was a kid that he was Jesus. Although in some of the apocryphal gospels, he turns kids into pigs and stuff like that. Have you seen the?
Yeah, that's why they got cut.
Yeah.
It's like in the redraft.
Yeah. I would definitely. If I had been
the channel didn't like it.
It's true. It's true. Look it up. There's some good apocrypha about Jesus.
I love a bit of apocrypha.
Yeah, it's good.
I can't spell it.
I can't. I'm not sure I can say it. But maybe I got away with it. Yes, well, I enjoyed that. And also, you play Civilization II specifically when you're a grown-up, and I did. I played that a lot.
I did.
Did you ever play Civilization 3 and 4 and 5?
I didn't know because Civilization 2 was enough to end an 8-year relationship. So I thought I should stop playing Civilization 2 after she moved out.
Right.
Actually, I played it for a while after she, with less guilt.
Yeah.
I got really stuck in.
I started playing it again the other day. I found it online and downloaded it. It's a dangerous.
But
I was single. I used to play it all weekend on my own. I'd start on Friday night and play and have 2 hours sleep over the weekend and finish a game of Civilization.
I remember many nights when the person I was with, who I called Jenna, just to give a personal plausible deniability, that's not her name, but she would sort of go glumly to bed again and say, I'll be with you in 5 minutes, and then sort of 3 hours and a bottle of wine later.
It's hard to leave Civilization.
Hang on, 3 hours. That's 3 bottles of wine.
You've got like a caravan and it's on its way to Quds or wherever. And you kind of think, I'll just see this one through to there.
Did you ever just go, fuck it, and start a nuclear war? Just for the...
I did. I kind of enjoyed that. There was someone who played. If you don't like Civilization 2, you're not going to enjoy the rest of the podcast. Because that's all I've got Robert in here to talk about.
So
there was someone who has been playing Civilization 2 for about 15 years. So did anyone see this? And they had a nuclear war.
They're not listening anymore, Rich.
It's just a wasteland. But he's keeping it going enough to keep the game going. but it's just it's just a horrible.
It's just
waste.
turned the whole planet into
Because you can keep
nothing.
going forever if you want. You complete your mission, get to Alpha
I'm
Centauri.
trying not to think of that as a.
And you
tempting.
can then carry on. And when I was playing it on my own, I sort of just got to. I didn't want to have wars this time. I just wanted to make everything perfect in the world.
Does it make you live forever if you play it forever?
Would it be nice? I think it did. But I was just trying to get rid of all the ice and all the, and make everything.
Is that since you
fertile.
became a daddy?
Yeah, I think it must be
Okay.
something to do with that. So I didn't have any tragedies in my life, but you had. And again, this is something I've got.
I think you probably did.
I didn't have any
but
tragedies.
But not just death-based.
What
about the
really?
champagne bottle up your anus?
That was quite. That was something.
Is that tragic or is that comic?
It was all right. I mean, it wasn't what I was into. I said
you weren't necessarily a great man brought down by that champagne
the person,
cork.
without giving too much of my
Bottle.
book away, the person who put the bottle in my anus, I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I thought you might like it." He or she said, "I thought you might like it," and I said, "No."
No,
And
I didn't think
she
I would.
stopped.
And now that you've done that, I was right.
Let's carry on with something else. But
Sorry, you were saying yes.
I'm very interested in. Well, in the book you talk about. There's two things, and there's more than two things. But your elder brother died before you were born, and that's the reason you were born, in a sense.
Yes.
What you're talking about, because
Yeah, it's quite likely that the reason I was born is because someone else died.
Yeah.
So I know a thing or two about luck.
Yes.
So yeah, that.
But then you also, and your mother also died when you were 17.
Indeed.
And then, but also within the book you're talking about.
And there's funny bits as well.
Yeah. And then your dad dies, and your granddad dies, and your stepdad
everyone fucking
dies. But that's all at the end. But it barely matters.
We leave. Yeah. So there's two important deaths quite close to the start. Then some funny book, and then more death. Conclusion.
But it's about extrapolating that into what you're saying in the book of if that hadn't happened, if your mum hadn't died, then you wouldn't have finally had your family that you had. If your brother hadn't died, you may not have existed. But that's sort of true of every single.
Well, I
instance of everything.
think I think we make these stories for ourselves, and we go, I'm like this because of this story that and it's usually like all stories, it's completely made up. That actually, we just go along in life, and these things happen to us, and we sort of cope and rationalise it in various ways. And sometimes it's a bad story. Sometimes it's a story you need to grow out of. I mean, the idea that the silver lining to my mother dying, and if you're 17 and your mum dies, you've got to try to make it mean something. And what I tried to make it mean was I'm going to be a comedy actor and writer, and and I'm emboldened to do that now. But I probably would have done anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's not always. Sometimes you're not telling yourself something. The story isn't necessarily very healthy.
No, and and whatever had happened, as you say, it might very well have happened anyway, regardless. And also, if you'd gone to, you nearly went to Leeds University, and you wouldn't have met David.
Well,
at
there are funny
University.
people at Leeds, but I wouldn't have met David, and that would have. So the course of his, Peep Show might have been. Those characters might have been played by the Chuckle Brothers, or and who's to say that wouldn't have been as good a show?
That might have been good,
or a better show, but a different show.
Hard to work out which one would be. Well, actually, maybe it isn't. I think Barry would probably be David's character.
I don't know their first names.
I don't know Barry's. Barry, what's the other one called?
I shouldn't bring them up without
Paul.
Without,
and there was some older Chuckle Brothers as well. What were they called? Yeah, fuck you, my Wikipedia audience. There was 4 Chuckle Brothers actually. Look it up on Wikipedia. There was some older ones, and then those 2 are the younger Chuckle Brothers.
What they regenerated into?
There's 4. I think the older 2 must be.
So it was Buck Fizz, and then they sort of splintered off and became Dollar.
I think it's more or less.
bring up more baffling 80s references.
It's very. The book's really good. I read it in a day. It's a thick book, and so that's not.
It's 320 pages long.
I read it in one day, start to finish, and
well done.
It's because it's
very
well done.
That's very patronising, but I know you're busy.
I am very busy.
You've been moving house.
I've been moving. It was my Sunday day. I spent the whole day reading it, and it's really, really, engaging and interesting. And you're very honest, I think, and very self-critical about certainly your younger. I mean, it's. I mean,
well, it's.
Yeah, go on.
Well, it's sort of. People have said that, and it's good to hear. But also, there is. You don't do that unless you quietly think that you're terrific. And if I'm saying I was such an arsehole, I was such an arsehole, I was such an arsehole, the heavy implication is I'm fine now, and that's not necessarily true.
No.
But I'm trying to get better. But,
Do you think in another 10 years you might write another book about what an arsehole you are?
about my arsehole? That time when I was sat with Richard Herring saying that all my arseholeness was in the past. What an arsehole. I was being an arsehole.
Well, I do sort of feel that because I do a show now. It seems every 10 years about where I am in my life, and you know, I certainly look back at myself at 40, and I was a complete. I mean, you know, I was having a nice time in a way and having a horrible time in another way. But I was sort of being. I mean, I suppose what you were doing in your 20s, which is the normal time to do it. But I was having a midlife crisis and doing all that again, and being a bit more of a mature arsehole, but still being an arsehole.
Just an old arsehole.
An old, puckered arsehole. Slightly...
inflexible, easily torn.
Yeah, a torn arsehole. And now I think
Come on.
Now I think I'm pretty, you know, I'm a bit more sorted out. But I'm sure...
we all think we're...
but I think in 10 years...
We should bring our wives on. None of what you're saying is true.
I think you're right. So that's. I mean, I think I'd be interested to look back when I'm. I hope I live another 10 years so I can look back.
Well, I hope so too, Richard.
And then say I was actually.
At least.
I was an idiot. At least. Yeah, but you know that's the thing. When you're 50, it'd be sad. It's very sad to die in your 40s, which you still are. I hope that doesn't happen. It's not happened to me. I can tell you that I've definitely got to my 50s.
It's a loving. We're wishing each other at least.
It's pretty.
6 to 10 years more life.
It's pretty sad to die in your 50s, but in your 60s.
Yeah.
It's sort of expected.
Yeah,
well,
50,
it'd be like,
when does it get tragic?
Yeah, it's not.
Does it fit? It's
65, 66. I mean, you wouldn't. If someone dies at 60, what is it? Everyone dying at 68, 69. That's the sort of the age people are dying.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, yeah. I mean, that's quite sad.
58's sad.
Yeah, 58's sad.
58's sad.
All the
61, bit sad.
Yeah.
65. Depends what generation they are and you know what they did with their
and then
lifestyle.
94. No one cares.
Fuck off.
So
it's only all the pills that are keeping you alive. You just sat there in that chair in that care home, staring into space.
The trick is, I'm supposed to find the moment. The age to die where you've really lived your life to the full, but people will still feel a bit sorry about it.
That's what I'm aiming for.
98. Oh, thank God. Thank God. Who was he anyway? All your contemporaries are dead. No one knows who you are. There's no one at your funeral. My grandma, who lived 102.
Wow.
And everyone's going, why did she fuck off? No, they weren't. But her, you know, she'd been an amazingly popular woman in her life, but nobody she knew was alive anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know. That's bad.
That's the risk you take.
That's the punishment. I want to have my funeral.
Life.
I want my funeral. I want a few of my friends to have died. As Stuart Lee, I would like to be dead.
Because you want the last word.
Yeah.
You get to stand there, do the eulogy, do all the jokes he wouldn't let you do in Fist of Fun. So, who's laughing now, Stu? Yeah, I can see that.
But many of my friends I would like to be alive so that they feel guilty about not treating
the
me
eloquent
better.
ones, the ones who speak well about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but then should I be wishing the people I like the least to live the longest so that they have the punishment of having a terrible thing? So anyway, what is that age, do you think, that is the best age to die at, where you are old enough but still young enough?
I'd want to die when I was... well, I don't know, because I might say 86, but then my 85-year-old self go, fuck off. But, I don't know, old enough to be old, but not so old that you're in any kind of pain whatsoever.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And still sort of walking around like a 50-year-old, as sprightly as you.
Yes. I was going to say that age is probably 49, I'm afraid.
and then you get run over, or something happens that your family are prepared for, but which won't hurt too much. Okay. And then you die in your sleep, peacefully at home.
Well, let's hope it's a long way off for both of us.
We're watching men of a certain age chat about their lives and the end of their lives.
No, I had something else to say, but it's gone because of my age.
Yep.
It's gone. And so, well, we'll talk a bit more about the book, and then we might move on to it. But I think the book's well worth talking about and well worth buying.
It doesn't look like this, by the way. This is the review copy. This is what they send to important people like Rich. It's not. rules for being a man, don't cry. This is the only thing in the book that I didn't write, and it's on the front. I'm not moaning. I'm slightly moaning, but the front will just have my stupid face on it. Of the
will,
real
will it have that on it? Will it have
it
that
will
stupid
have that
face?
on it. That particular stupid face on the front.
That is a good one. That's a good stupid face. I think there's again in my book Talking Cock, which I'm sure you it's probably in the bibliography at the back. As you but I talked about how I think the expectations on being a man and being a woman are so strong that I think people gravitate towards them, and this is sort of partly the theory in your stuff that we're brought up to believe boys behave in a certain way and girls behave in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then that's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy up to an extent. Is that
basically,
fair?
Basically, gender is made up. That there is sex, and that itself is a sort of a spectrum, but we can identify who's got a willy and who hasn't. But then gender is the stuff that we put on top of that to amplify those differences. Yeah. And there are differences, but they become hugely exaggerated. So boys get told that, you love maths and swimming and climbing trees and this is what you like, and girls are told a whole other set of rules, and if you have trouble fitting into those, then okay, that's a bit uncomfortable, but it's not a big deal. But what is a big deal is the stuff that boys get told about emotional repression.
Yes.
That they go to, if you fall over, man up, get up, don't cry, all that stuff about being tough and basically not acknowledging your own emotions. And if you keep being told don't express these negative emotions, eventually it'll start sounding like don't feel these feelings and don't have these feelings, don't acknowledge these feelings. And so you end up, if you become sad, it has to come out somewhere. If you can't acknowledge if you can't digest a big embarrassment sandwich, it's going to come out somewhere else as a smell for everyone else. Yes. And so, Donald Trump's Twitter feed is like one angry, frightened turd after another. And so you're not taught those skills to become your own emotional detective and to work out why I'm feeling this feeling that I'm feeling. And you end up just not using your brain properly. And I think that's probably quite a big topic. If half the population of the world are just going around going, I'm fine, everything's fine, then that's a problem.
Do you think specifically it might be a bit more a British thing, and it might be a bit more of our father's generation British thing? In that I think a lot of my male friends now are much more better at this and are better at communicating to their children about emotions, and but it feels like our maybe something to do with being a child in the war, or people. I think people people dying, so you just had to carry on after the war.
I think some people brought up by men who were in a war, or brought up by the sons of men who were in a war. Yeah. In our generation's case, is the worst thing you can possibly be accused of is self-indulgence, and self-indulgence is just a bad way of expressing a negative emotion. So it they are, because I'm not telling soldiers that they need to get in touch with their feelings, because that's the last fucking thing they need. If you're going to shoot someone, don't think about how that feels. They are specifically trained not to do that, which is fine. Well, which is necessary. It's not fine, but it's necessary in that situation. But in peacetime, for most men, no, we don't need to. We don't need to close ourselves off like that. And I'm not saying everyone needs to burst into tears at every opportunity. That would be horrible. But there is a middle ground, and I don't think we're in it.
But it's difficult to escape, I think, one's own father.
Yeah.
So I think you do, and I think you talk about this a little bit in your book about how you started adapting.
Yes,
not the same, but similar patterns of behaviour.
This is exactly this is me saying I used to be an arsehole, but Abby is actually in the audience, and she would strenuously claim that I am still an arsehole. There she is. And, but it's that kind of, there are lots of ways to be a dad, but instead of inventing my own way, I just followed the original model. And the original model was no beauty. It was my own father, who drank a lot and had a short temper and took a flexible attitude to monogamy. There I did not follow his example, I may say. But generally, I was drinking too much, and I was just boring, and I wasn't present when the children were around, and I just, and I had that breadwinning panic, that kind of, instead of, I could have just gone on, Peep Show is still going, the sketch show is still going, that's a lot of fantastic work, but instead of just doing that, I said yes to everything. The kind of list that you were reading out the last time I was here. You know, all the shittiest and corniest voiceovers and crappy presenter shows, movie mistakes and all that. I look at my CV over those years, and it's just, I just went mental. So I just wasn't around at all.
But it's a difficult balance, isn't it? Because there's a part of you thinking, I'm providing for my family by doing this.
Well,
work.
that's exactly what you learn, and you know, it is drilled into you not drilled into you, but it is heavily implied everywhere. Certainly, growing up in the 70s and 80s, that is what blokes do. This is what women do, and you're trying to challenge those ideas with the brain that was formed in that environment.
Yes.
And so it's, you know, it's not the evolution of gills, but it does take a bit of effort to form new habits.
Sure. It's very interesting stuff. I will break away though to ask you some important emergency questions that I thought I would be asking to Michael Portillo.
It's Twinkie, not the kangaroo.
Okay. Let's see what I've got for you. I'm just going to pick one fairly at random. Not that one again. We've had that. Oh, this is quite a good one. Who do you consider the most appalling member of Margaret Thatcher's cabinet? Excluding Margaret Thatcher.
Excluding Margaret Thatcher.
Obviously.
That was the obvious question. Wow, so many. I want to say Norman Tebbit, but it's too obvious, and he did get sort of, you know, badly hurt in that bomb, and so I feel a bit sorry for him, even though he's so nasty. Cecil Parkinson was kind of slimy. Everyone said he was a great communicator because he did this a lot, but he was...
Cecil Parkinson was my choice at the time of writing this book.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I just met Cecil Parkinson 2 weeks before he died, and he was very charming. But then he died.
He speaks well of you.
And I wasn't...
I'm sure he was charming.
But he was a horrible...
Portillo was charming to me.
Yeah. He was charming to me before he suddenly turned on me, like, anger. I got to him.
He switches it on and off.
He does, yeah.
He's one of those guys.
Good. Well, they were all pretty nasty. John Majors was all right, wasn't he? Old John Majors.
Old John Majors? Yeah, okay. With his glasses. That was funny what they did, Spitting Image. They painted him grey.
Yes.
So as to imply his boredomness.
All right, here's another one. And he ate peas, that's what they did. I remember actually with John Majors, I was writing for Weekending at the time that he became Prime Minister, and they did loads, they came to interview us at Weekending about how because Margaret Thatcher had been so colourful, what we were going to do with John Majors. And obviously we didn't know because it just happened.
we don't know what to do.
We don't know what's going to happen. If everyone else in the world left in a spaceship and left you behind, so everything belonged to you, where would you live? What paintings would you have on your wall? Would you be lonely? Where would you be the most ostentatious place you would masturbate?
I'm going to do that backwards.
Okay.
The Taj Mahal would be where I would masturbate.
Would the domes help you?
With the little lovely water features, that's where I'd spunk into.
Would you be thinking this is where Princess Diana looks sad? Would be that one of the things that helped you?
That actually adds a little frisson that I hadn't thought of. Would I be lonely? Yes.
Yes.
What was the one before that?
What paintings would you have on your wall? You can have any painting.
Oh, I'd probably have that one of that. Do you remember the one from the 70s, the woman with the green face?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd have that one.
You can have that now. There's loads of those.
No, I want that because it would, you know.
You want the original one of that, the original of that.
Because it's fascinating. It's a fascinating picture.
It
Why
is.
would anyone paint that?
And
just look at it forever.
Where would you live if you could live in any house and if everyone had gone and left everywhere empty?
Well, quite close to the Taj Mahal. Probably.
In the
is there other facility? I mean, do people don't live there? Is it a religious shrine? Have I just
don't think it's a palace. I believe it was a palace built in. It was it's quite old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of 1500s or something like that.
Seems old.
And I think it was built by, I'm only guessing,
Slaves.
by someone for his wife. I think it was like a love gift for her.
Oh, that's nice. It's a mausoleum.
It was a mausoleum.
Oh,
that's it in a way.
That's in very bad taste. Oh, I really. Oh, that is not what she would have wanted. Probably.
I don't know. If people were still wanking over me in 600 years' time, I'd be delighted about that.
Well, that's a comfort.
It is. I mean, I don't mind. It could be literally over me, but I was imagining.
It's good that you don't mind.
I was imagining my mum. I mean, over me rather than on top of my, my
that would
bones, my mummified corpse. I'd like to be mummified in the Taj Mahal. And then anyone who wants to come along, just men or women,
whatever.
have a wank, just come and just leave it to dry.
Yeah.
To dry. That would probably be a preservative. It's good for your skin, isn't it? Apparently, so
probably be good for the.
That's what I would like. Good question, isn't it? That was a good question.
Good question.
Here's another.
That book is full of those good questions like that.
Here's one that isn't in this book. What is this? Let me just get this right. What is the? I haven't got it written down.
What is the weight of an average?
What is the strangest thing you've ever found in the embers of a bonfire? This is my new favourite question.
Oh, it would be that boy I killed. And I dragged his body underneath what I thought was just, a pile of rubbish. And it turned out it was going to be a bonfire.
Good, that's on you. I'd get someone with that. There's that Peep Show episode, isn't there, where you burn a dog?
We burn a dog, yeah.
Did you really burn a dog?
Then I eat the dog. We didn't burn a dog, but I did eat some charred turkey, and it was turkey. Yeah. That's not funny, but it's true.
One of my emergency questions, and having read your book, I know there's an answer to this, so I don't think I want to discuss it, but the one I was asking last week, which I thought was good, was have you ever fallen downstairs? But you have fallen downstairs.
Yes, it's my earliest childhood memory,
yes.
Yes, I fell down some stairs. My mother was there at the bottom, scooping me up and making consoling noises, and my father was there laughing. Because he was trying to toughen me up.
Yeah. Those are my two questions to get interesting childhood memories. And see, it worked. The second one worked. I'll ask you a light-hearted one. Have you ever seen the TV show Friends?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yes, it's very good.
Yeah.
I think I know all their names now.
Yeah,
there are so many of them. There's six people.
Yeah.
It's really hard to remember all their names.
This is one of my new emergency questions. I think this is just one I wrote in the front of someone's book. If you had to live the rest of your life either as Chandler from Friends or as the actor Matthew Perry, which of those would you choose?
It's definitely Chandler from Friends.
Is it?
Yeah.
You'd like to be married to Monica with some adopted twins?
I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Whereas Matthew Perry, I gather, has issues. I mean, don't we all?
Yeah.
But I don't want his issues. I want mine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or Chandler's, preferably.
Chandler's an interesting character, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, it's good.
They've given him the gift of wit. He's the witty one.
He is. So what do you think about the... this will make no sense in 3 months' time. What do you think about the old Doctor Who being making a woman, eh?
I'm delighted.
What's that about?
I think it's a good idea. Let's go. But there are people saying, oh, yeah, but it's been a male character all this time, so I'm a bit... Hopefully it'll be fine, but I think it's a bit weird. And that's a perfectly reasonable position. But there are people, of course, going, it's PC gone mad! What the fuck is going on? You're stealing my childhood! You're stealing my childhood! And I don't really understand those people.
Well, he's not. I mean, the thing with Doctor Who is so much. He's sort of sexless, really. It's not. If he was.
He's got two hearts.
Yeah.
I don't really care how many testicles or boobs he's got.
But it's not like
I say he. I mean,
it's not getting it out every week, is he?
He's not going to be
waving it around.
He's not been getting out at all. I've never seen that.
No.
Is that the sort of Doctor Who Black album where there's this bootleg thing with
he goes to the Taj Mahal, gets the Taj Mahal,
whacking off.
He goes to the Taj Mahal when it's being built, and he just can't stop himself.
You know those fucking Gallifreyans.
He's only not human after all.
No, they only invented the whole concept of regeneration when, William Hartnell, it got to that stage, that happens to older actors sometimes, that they can't remember their lines anymore and they get a bit fucking grumpy. And he just didn't want to do it anymore. And they went, well, we don't want to cancel the show. Oh, we'll make up this thing where another actor comes in and plays the character. It wasn't written by God. That was a fucking some producer having a bright idea.
And there were only meant to be 12 regenerations. That's what I'm upset about. And so, they've done this as 13 now, so what's that about?
Oh. It's all made up, lads.
maybe there's only allowed to be 12 men, and then it's 12 women, and then
Well, that would be...
the 12 guy buys.
Actually, I can reveal now, each of the first 12 Doctors were a different guy by.
Yeah, I thought, when they did the end of the last episode, I thought maybe Peter Capaldi was going to become William Hartnell. I thought maybe Peter Capaldi was the young William Hartnell, and he was just going to live for another 50. But they don't get older, do they?
They don't know, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then they could just start it again.
You could write it, but you probably can't be bothered.
No, I can't be bothered. I'm writing my own thing about the sort of like Doctor Who, but it's about something else.
Oh, but it'll be brilliant.
I'll ask you another emergency question. This is one you have written. Is there any romance greater than the one a teenage boy has with his own loneliness?
That was a line that turned up in my diary, aged 16, and I thought it was such a great line, I decided not to spoil it by answering the question.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. There is a greater romance than the one a teenage boy has with his own loneliness. The one the teenage boy is having with his own loneliness is not really a romance. It's just a lot of masturbation.
I love it, but I also kept it. I kept the diary when I was a kid, and you were also on the Teenage Diary Radio 4 show where you were quite a lot.
Well, there's so much appalling stuff in that diary that I haven't had to overlap any of it with the stuff I did with Rufus Hound. So it's all new. It's all new horrible shit.
Did you keep? It seems like you kept a diary for quite a long time.
I think it was one of my main things that I did. Sort of time and motion study of how I spent my days. There are sort of 3 volumes, and it comes out, and they're all closely written, angrily written. And this is why Marina won't go out with me, because she lacks the simple imagination. And what I should have done is, had a bath more than once a week, or perhaps got that school blazer that I've been wearing 5 days a week and has never been washed or dry cleaned. Perhaps put that in the washing machine. Perhaps ask girls how they are today. These would have been simple steps.
It's amazing how, but it's sort of what men are like on Twitter. It's like what grown men are like on Twitter now, isn't it? Where they get angry with people for not just immediately being in love with them. Hello. Yeah. We see all those times when women tweet like little dating apps or just a Twitter feed where someone's going, oh, hello, going, and you talk to them a bit, and they go, oh, you fucking bitch, why did you leave me on? Fucking hell, that's basically what my teenage diary is. It's like
my favourite headline in The Onion, sort of satirical newspaper. Why can't I sell more of these fucking Bibles? And it's kind of, why don't you like me, bitch? It's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's sort of.
I mean, I wasn't like that in person, but I was being very rude about them in the diary.
No, that's what I enjoyed.
And thank God there was no internet. Otherwise, I could have been one of those little fucking entitled pricks who turn up and make a little video about how they have a name for it now. They call themselves incels,
right?
Which means involuntary celibate.
Right.
And they have forums and they talk to each other about how feminism is destroying them and how unfair it is and how women are so horrible to them they're never going to breed, and that will fucking teach them a lesson because there won't be any more humans or feminists.
It's weird.
Thank God, I was just moaning.
Yeah, we're sort of moaning to yourself, and so then it's unless you want to reveal it at some later point when you write an autobiography. It's just there, and you get it out, and no one sees it, which is kind of healthy. I think if you create something that then other people
in the real world occupied by other real people.
Well, and then other people going, yes, I'm like that too, and so then you go, oh, let's never break up. But I mean, you do that again as a teenager. I think like me and my friends were like we loved being immature, and we didn't like the people who pretended they were mature as we saw it, and so we would deliberately be as childish as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, but it's all right being in a gang. Being in a gang is great as long as you don't, hurt people.
Yes. But it is interesting. But it's that difference between when you read your diary and you remember the person you were, and it's exactly that. It's that kind of the anger that the horrible stuff that comes out in the diary, which is not really who you were, though, I think. Who one was.
No, not really. And I hope you can tell the difference between this.
But for both, I mean, for anyone, I just think in my own diary, it's just full of this. And it's that passion and anger and confusion. And
it's also showing up, you know, if you're interested in writing and you enjoy writing, it is also, you know, getting to the end of this sentence and, you know, you do get, in a diary, where there's no responsibility to a reader, you are allowed to just get carried away and it doesn't have to particularly make sense. Yeah. You're just enjoying the language.
Sure. But yeah, it's and I think going to all the stuff about going to university. So I think you were more. I was very unsuccessful with women and girls at university for a long time though as well. Whereas you had some success quite early on by the looks of it.
Yes, it all cheered up when I went to university. Yes,
but using your tragic circumstances.
Oh, that helped.
In order to,
that helped a big time. But I thought that's what she would have wanted. Mum would have wanted me to use her tragic early death to get laid as often as possible. Yeah, it really helps. Yeah. Because you sort of go, it's not saying, by the way, my mother died. It's kind of allowing that information to be disseminated. Yeah. And then when they ask you about it, then you just sort of modestly shrug it off and be really fucking cool about it. You know, it's just something that happened and, you know, sometimes it's hard and, you know, and just being like, you know, I was 20 and really up for it. And, so of course.
Damn, I wish my mum had died. I had nothing, or been adopted, or anything.
My dad was headmaster. It was quite tough, actually. You probably want to touch this now.
Oh, and I enjoyed your jealousy of Bros.
Fucking Bros. Bros.
Yeah.
So, for younger members of the audience, Bros were, so it was like, imagine Justin Bieber, but there's 3 of him, and 2 of him are identical twins, and the other one is just this kind of, well, presumably a mutant, who they keep in a dungeon.
It's Craig. Craig was the third one.
Craig.
But he's...
No, I hated Bros because all the girls at school wanted to have sex with Bros and none of them wanted to have sex with me. They weren't actually allowed to have sex with me. I'm talking about pre-16. But I just thought it would be polite if they'd expressed the idea that it was a pity that they weren't allowed to have sex with me as well as not allowed to have sex with Bros.
I was at school with Bros.
Were you?
For 1 year I was at school with Bros.
You could have changed. You could have done something about that.
I could have stopped them before they became the monster. It's like I saw Michael Portillo. I've been in the same room. Actually, with Nigel Farage.
All the people you could have killed.
Nigel Farage came out of the studio. I'd gone to the loo, and he came out of his studio after his doing bit, and we walked along this very dark corridor in the BBC, and there was no one else around. And I was walking just behind him, and I thought I could actually just push him out that window. And I tweeted about it, and then
and then lots of people said, actually, it's not very funny to joke about it.
Well, I didn't say what I would do, and then some UKipper,
of course,
said, I am informing the Metropolitan Police about what you've said. You said you were in an alleyway and you were going to kill him, and now you're going. And I said, I was in a corridor. I didn't say what I was going to do.
and the Metropolitan Police have got back to me. They've told me to go fuck myself, which is just typical of feminazis.
But no, Bros. But I was in love with Bridget Seeley, and both of Bros got off with her.
Oh my God!
So imagine that. It literally happened to me.
Well,
maybe.
Bastards.
I mean, they could pretend. They could
do anything.
They could just pretend they were the other one.
It's like the Prestige. And it turns out there's fucking infinite numbers of them.
They came to.
That's a spoiler.
I think if they hadn't left Cheddar, they came to Cheddar and lived in Cheddar for a year, and they were in the year below me.
Oh.
Yeah. And they went on to be successful.
And who was it?
Bridget Seeley.
Oh, Bridget.
Yeah. I loved her. When we went on a school trip, we were singing "Bridge Over Troubled Water" in the coach, and I would say like a Bridget over troubled water. That was my way of trying to
impress her.
Yeah.
But she wasn't going for it.
She wasn't impressed.
And they were at the back going,
"Jack the boy, Jack the boy."
I say in the book that I'm watching Bros on Top of the Pops singing "Drop the Boy," and I'm now being this insufferable teenager and trying to impress everyone with the way I can deconstruct Bros lyrics. I say, "Drop the boy," they say, only a boy would need. Oh, I'm a man. Yeah, I'm a man. Yes, I am. is one of the lyrics, and I say, "I'm a man," he says, "only a boy would need to say so." And I was so fuck. I've been waiting to try that out for a week.
And now I'm jumping for joy. That was the other bit. And so,
Yeah, now I'm jumping. Have you ever seen a man jump for joy? I think not. I didn't actually talk like this, but...
Yeah. But ironically, out of all of them, Craig, the third one, did the best because they gave him £1 million when he left. And then I think he went on to become a big record producer or something. Did he marry someone like... He married some pop star, I think.
Was it?
Anyway, you're very bad, this week's audience, for filling in my slight lack of knowledge.
Was it Madonna?
It was Madonna. He married Madonna. Right. And then he married all of the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
And then they got divorced and had all their money. But I believe I met one of them. I think which one's the one who went to America?
Person?
No, one of the Goss brothers. Was it Matt? I met Matt on a radio show.
Did you? Well, was he charming? I'm sure they're
very nice.
I'm sure they're very nice people.
He
I
didn't
just
remember
wanted
me
them
from
dead
school.
when I was 16.
And now look at you.
Well,
were they in Peep Show? Were they?
No, they were not in Peep Show.
Were they in Confetti?
Although
were they in film Confetti?
They were not. They weren't even in Confetti, playing a nudist opposite a sobbing co-star. They didn't have that great pleasure.
Let me ask you another emergency question.
Great. I'd like to see Peep Show starring the Gosses.
Yeah, that'd be good. What, like twins?
Yeah. But it would. Yeah. I mean, I say I'd like to see it. It would probably be fucking rubbish.
It would be. I would like to see.
I mean, they're not funny. One of them can sing.
I would like Jedward to be in everything. I would really like. I've done this before, but I would like Jedward. I would like to do a version of Deadwood, which has Jedward in it. It's called Jedward Deadwood, and it's not. You have to refilm the whole thing shot for shot with the same actors who were in the original Deadwood.
Yeah.
But Jedward are always in the back of every shot.
They're always doing their Jedward moves.
And they're Jedward. They're not dressed in contemporary clothes.
That's great.
But everyone else has to act around.
I like things happening in the background, but I particularly like that.
Jedward Deadwood.
Jedward Deadwood.
I think it would be good. Let me see. Let me see if I've got. I'll try and do one without anuses in it and penises in it.
Let's go for it.
So childish.
No, let's just do it.
What is the shortest time between buying something expensive / nice and breaking it that you have experienced?
Ooh. My first daughter was an Android.
Right.
And I put in AA batteries where there should be AAA batteries, and I just stuffed them in, and it broke.
Wow.
That's a made-up answer.
Oh, I thought. Fuck,
I can't think of a true answer. Certainly not one that doesn't involve anuses and penises.
Okay. Have you ever surprised a dog?
I must have done.
Yeah.
I must have done. They're very easily startled.
Yeah.
Because they kind of go around, doing their thing, and then there's a noise, and then they're like that, and
True,
so I may well have done it. It hasn't stuck.
No, okay. This is a question I've only asked backstage, I think, so far, and this is one of my new favourite emergency questions.
Okay.
Would you like to have a bath with my dad? He's 80 years old. I'll give you some background on either side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a sexual thing. It's just you and him having a bath.
Yeah.
Because I used to have baths with him when I was little.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
But now I'd find it awkward.
It would be.
But
would a reasonably big bath. Let's assume it's a big.
It would be. You have to be quite big. He's not as mobile as he used to be, but
Right.
That doesn't really matter in a bath
Is
situation.
he still at an age where he's still clinging on to his? He's not going to shit the bath.
Oh, I don't think he'll shit the bath.
Okay.
I mean, even if he...
All right,
I'm
just gathering information.
We could make sure he had gone to the toilet before the bath.
Okay.
If you were worried
All right.
about that.
It's just, I know you've been doing this a lot, Dad. It's just this one insists that you go to the toilet first. He's a bit spiky like that. Well,
it's called Keith Haring.
Maybe dinner and a movie. Maybe we get introduced by.
It's not a date. It's not a sexy
relatives.
thing. It's just like saving water, helping the environment.
You know what? I'm going to say no.
Okay. Everyone said no so far.
I'm going to say no.
It's very insulting to my dad.
I'm going to say no.
What is the worst place you've ever picnicked?
All picnics. All places. Because I hate picnics.
Yeah.
They're like a cheapskate throwing a party. Oh, shall we have a picnic? Well, shall we? Actually, what, you want us to all bring our own fucking food and then sit on the ground with the ants and the flying ants and the snakes?
Could be sometimes could be quite
and the
nice.
scorpions.
What I've noticed quite a lot is when you go to stop at service stations, which I do a fair deal in my time, there's often people sitting in chairs they've brought themselves on the grass verge by the car park, eating sandwiches they've brought with them.
Looking at the cars.
Yeah, and just sort of sitting by the car park where it's just there's cars and fumes wafting by. They don't even take the sandwiches into the service station and sort of sit on a chair.
No, why spoil a lovely day? We could be al fresco.
I mean, I think they might be worried about being thrown out of the service station, but that's. I mean, there's the typical one of the on the hard shoulder sometimes. In comedy shows you see, but I don't know if that really happens in real life.
I've never seen that. Well, I grew up next to RAF Coningsby, and people would, there was a bit, because they weren't very wide roads, so you'd always have that sort of bit where you have to move to one side to let a car go by, because there wasn't quite room for two cars. And people would occupy that bit so that they could get their chairs out and look at the aeroplanes.
Yes.
Quite older married couples. But he was the one with the binoculars, and she was the one with the thermos, and we used to drive by those fucking idiots,
we'll be like
laughing
that.
at them.
We'll be there one day.
Everyone's going to have a hobby, but I mean, blimey.
I know what I wanted to talk to you about. That I was nearly going to introduce you with this. The first show you did with David Mitchell, apart from you did a pantomime, it
was a student pantomime.
You did a show called Innocent Millions Dead or Dying. A wry look at the post-apocalyptic age with songs.
Correct.
Can you tell me a lot about that, please? So I would like to, and maybe sing some of the songs for me.
It was blimey. It was the first show we did, and we did lots of other shows after that with the same sort of format, and that we wrote a stupid story, usually with some terrible Bond villain who was going to do some humorous crime, like pull the plug out of the bottom of Lake Titicaca and all the whatever, and which doesn't exist.
It sounds a bit like Go Jetters.
Lake Tanganyika.
Have you seen Go Jetters? The show Go Jetters.
Go Jetters,
yeah.
go. It's my favourite kids show.
Me too.
Theme tune.
Me and my daughter sing it together, and it's one of my happiest things.
All around the world,
Can you do the whole thing? Because I probably can. Can you do it from the start?
Not on my own. No, I don't know the word. I don't know if I know the words of the verse.
Zuli is the pilot with the power and the speed. Kai and so fantastic if gymnastics what you need. Lars is the mechanic, super nifty with his hands. Foz is the has the answer to Grandmaster Glitch's plans. Outside the world is turning. Guided by Ubercorn. Now I want to know. I tried to. It says.
They don't sing that.
No, it says. It says outside the. It introduces all the characters.
Yeah.
Then it says outside the world is turning.
Yeah.
Which is there to rhyme later on with learning. It says outside the world is turning, guided by Ubercorn. Does that mean that Ubercorn is responsible for the world turning? Is he a sort of god figure? Outside the world is turning, guided by Ubercorn.
Well,
4 heroes always learning. There's just so much to explore. So jump on board! Then it goes to Go Jets.
I've never really
My daughter can't do the rest of it.
I've never really watched the show.
It's fucking great.
But I like the tune.
Yeah. Well, what Grandmaster Glitch?
It's great that you've memorised the lyrics.
Glitch does. I'm trying to impress my daughter. It's one of the things I do.
That's a noble thing to want to do.
She doesn't really understand English enough to know I'm getting it right. But she goes, go, 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 go. She does that while I'm singing it. It's nice.
She sounds like an idiot.
Yeah. If you'd been a good dad to your kids,
maybe you would have memorised the lyrics.
If it hadn't been all that. I didn't realise there was water left in that, sorry.
I feel quite refreshed.
I think you say you won't drink. I think drinking alone is the best kind of drinking, and I don't think it's a terrible thing to do.
I'm trying not to. Again, I'm aware that I am not the only member of the family present in this room, and I am attempting not to drink alone.
It's really wet. I'm sorry. I've never been so embarrassed since I was on This Week 3 days ago.
drinking alone can be, but it's a strange definition of fun. But
Well,
I suppose,
I think because if I just wipe yourself on the chair. We'll bring you a towel out. There's a lot. There's much more.
Bring him the usual towel. When it goes to, who had 9:15? He always kicks off about this time.
I think getting back home. See, I work at night and I get home and everyone's asleep.
Yes.
And
so you have a wind down night.
I have a couple of whiskies on my own, and that's not bad.
No, I'm not telling anyone else what to do. I'm just saying.
In fact, it's really amazing.
Okay, I'm really happy for you.
I'm thinking of making a bottle of whiskey. Because 2 is so nice.
2 is so nice. Why stop?
I think on your own, social drink is worse, because if social drinking, you're encouraged to drink more than you want to drink, maybe, or you end up drinking more than you thought you were going to drink. Whereas on your own, you kind of go, I'm going to have 2 glasses of whiskey.
I think it gets to a certain stage, like whether it's 2. I don't like whiskey, thank God. I don't like spirits, which is a blessing. But it gets to a certain number of, Dave and I wrote a sketch. No, we didn't write it actually. We did a sketch called The Inebriati, which was about, there was this code of, 1.5 drinks is lovely, it makes you feel terrific, but if you have 2 drinks, that's when things start to go wrong.
Yes.
And I don't know what, I wouldn't like to say what my number is, but beyond a certain number of beers, I don't want to stop drinking beer ever again.
Yeah.
So I have to sort of be a bit careful.
Just stop.
There's a word for it, which I don't use myself.
Yeah, okay. Just stop just before that number. Just stop
before that number.
Stop.
And everything
it's like
will be
me
fine.
and minstrels. That's what I'm like with minstrels. Got a real problem with those. Yeah. And also beer. And I know, that's my advice to an alcoholic: just have 2 drinks. On your own.
It's the best advice.
On your
Enjoy
own.
them. Really savour it. Savour that lovely, lovely, lovely taste of alcohol.
Then just stop.
And then
just stop.
And then just
till
till
tomorrow, and then I've got 2 more tomorrow. It's not. It's just
Works
when
for me.
It's just when everyone's asleep, Robert. It's just nice to know. There's no one's going to come and disturb you. That's the only good thing about being a stand-up comedian. Is
it's a very noisy job, and you want a bit of quiet afterwards.
But also your family are noisy, aren't they? So you come back at 1 o'clock in the morning and everyone's asleep.
Are you now feeling a bit defensive because you think
No,
I've told you to stop drinking?
No,
alone?
I haven't. I don't, because you didn't tell me your book.
Yes.
I think you should drink on your own.
Thanks, Abby. I've just been told.
I think you should. Let's give it a go. See how come back in 10 years' time if you're still alive.
If I'm wheeled on with a drip.
That might have been bad advice. I hope this isn't because of me.
Not at all. Press this button that releases more vodka into bloodstream. I think that's what those bags have got in them.
So did it go well? The Innocent Millions Dead or Dying, a wry look at the post-apocalyptic age with songs.
Yes, it did. Okay. Even though we just got back from Staples photocopying the handwritten script an hour before the show, but hadn't quite had time to learn any of the lines. But we came on miraculously dressed as the right characters at the beginning of each scene. We didn't really know how to get to the end of that scene, but we sort of. But it was an 11 o'clock show and lots of drunk students, and they sort of liked us already from other stuff we'd done. So we got away with it, and we learned all the wrong lessons about we always get away with it in the end. But by the Saturday, by the end of the week, we were getting laughs for the right reasons. Right. Not as many. They weren't laughing as much at the deliberate jokes as they had done at all the fuck ups.
Yes.
But they were laughing deliberately.
Back in the 90s, did you do the show in Edinburgh, or was it just the student thing you did?
We did it eventually in Edinburgh, yeah.
Because back in the 90s, that is basically how I wrote my Edinburgh shows. I mean, we really were
it's amazing how people are previewing from fucking Christmas these days. And these young people...
It's ridiculous.
Fridge preparation and their slick professional shows that you actually don't resent paying for. No, leave an audience indignant, shortchanged and angry.
It was a better time. It was 1990s.
Yeah.
And do you remember? Were you in Edinburgh at the point when there were there were no colour posters. You would do a black and white
Oh, you see
on a
people
colour, on a, like a blue piece of paper or something.
Who can afford colour posters? Sometimes you had two colours.
Two colours sometimes.
Yeah, but usually black and white. But
Yeah.
a full colour poster was the stuff of Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
But Avalon Acts sometimes had full colour.
Someone sent me a picture of a leaflet of Rara Rasputin, which I did in '93. I want to say '92 or '93, and that was brown and white, but with blue like the blue eyes, and the Rara Rasputin was in blue.
So two colours.
So it
blue
was two
and brown.
colours, yeah. So that, and I was thinking, God, that was. So, but that seems relatively recently, but yeah. So
No, all our posters were in black and white until 1999.
Wow. Okay. Just trying to think. 1999. What was my poster? Can't remember.
Oh well.
Oh well. Let's end it there.
And on that
In fact, let's cut all the rest of the podcast. The people.
Oh well. Robert Webb, and then oh well. That's the story of my life.
Oh dear. So what are you working on that you've got to go and rush off?
I've got to go and.
Is it more movie mistakes?
It is not more movie mistakes. We made a new sitcom. David Mitchell and I are in a new show called Back, which for Channel 4, which will be out in September, and it's really good. It's written by Simon Blackwell, who wrote for Veep and also wrote a couple of episodes of Peep Show. So it's going to be dead good, and we've finished doing that. And then the rest of my life from now till November is bollocking on about that book in various theatres around the country.
Good. Well, do go and see him bollocking on about it, and do buy the book. It's really good. You can read it in a day if you're a brilliant reader like I am. I can read proper words.
You can read it in 3 hours if you're used to reading.
If you skip a bit, you gotta skip a bit. You gotta.
My dead mum. I skipped this bit. Skip the fucking. Oh no, it was really tough.
When's he gonna talk about Peep Show?
Where's the fucking celebs?
It's very good, but do buy it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Robert Webb!
Thank you.
From Robert's Webb. How'd you like them sky potatoes?